At 7:42 every morning, Caleb buys the same $5 coffee, same street, same tired face, same little tap on his phone. The coffee helps for about 20 minutes, then it disappears. No drama, no explosion, just $5 quietly leaving Caleb's life. Again, and again, and again. Caleb does not think much about it, because $5 does not feel like a financial decision. $5 feels like survival, a small reward for waking up early, answering emails, pretending to understand meetings, and trying to be a responsible adult with a half-charged phone and a fully exhausted soul. But one morning, something strange happens. Caleb taps his phone. The coffee cup appears on the counter, and before he can pick it up, the cup splits into two. One cup looks normal, warm, useful, gone by 8:15. The second cup is glowing, not magical glowing, more like suspicious glowing. Above it, a tiny handwritten label appears. Future Caleb would like to talk. Caleb blinks. And suddenly, across the counter, there he is. Future Caleb. Same face, a few more lines, better posture. The kind of calm that makes present Caleb immediately suspicious. Caleb says, "Please tell me this is caffeine." Future Caleb says, "I wish." Then he points at the two cups. "One of these disappears today," he says. "The other one works for you." Caleb looks at the normal cup, then the glowing cup, then future Caleb. "I just wanted breakfast." Future Caleb smiles. That is the problem. You think this is about coffee. And that is where our story begins. This video is not really about coffee. It is about tiny money. $5 here, $10 there, a forgotten subscription, a delivery fee, a small upgrade because the day was hard. None of those choices are evil. Coffee is not the villain. Snacks are not the villain. Enjoying life is not the villain. The real problem is when every small dollar has a job except building your future. So today, Caleb is going to follow one question. What happens when tiny money stops disappearing and starts working? This is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. Investing has risk. Returns are never guaranteed. You can lose money. And money you need soon should not be invested. But if investing has always felt confusing, scary, or like something only rich people understand, this story is for you. Future Caleb reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small coin. He places it on the counter. The coin grows tiny legs and starts walking away. Caleb points at it. "Is my money leaving?" Future Caleb nods. "Most of it does, unless you give it a plan." The coin walks toward a tiny hole in Caleb's pocket. A leak. Then more holes appear. Forgotten subscription. Random fees. It is only $5. Coins slip through the holes slowly. Not fast enough to scare Caleb, just slowly enough that he never notices. Future Caleb says, "Money usually does not disappear in one dramatic disaster. It disappears in tiny leaks you explain away." Caleb tries to cover the holes, but every time he covers one, another coin rolls towards something he barely remembers buying. Then future Caleb places another coin on the counter. This one does not walk away. It sinks into the wood like a seed. A tiny green sprout pops up. Caleb leans closer. "What is that?" Future Caleb says. "Money with a job." Caleb says, "Money can have a job?" "Yes, most people work for money. Investing is when you try to make money work for future you." The sprout wiggles. Caleb is not impressed. "That is extremely small." Future Caleb nods. "At first, it always is." That is the first honest lesson. Investing does not feel powerful in the beginning. In the beginning, it feels almost silly. If Caleb redirects $5, no one claps. It is just $5. But if $5 becomes a repeated habit, the story changes. $5 a day is about $150 a month. Not everyone can do that. Some people are dealing with rent, debt, kids, medical bills, or jobs that do not pay enough. So this is not about guilt. It is about understanding the idea. Small money can disappear quietly, or small money can build quietly. Future Caleb taps the glowing coffee cup. The coffee shop stretches into a hallway with two doors. Door 1 says, "Spend and forget." Door 2 says, "Give money a job." Caleb opens the first door. Caleb opens. Inside, he sees 30 days of tiny choices. Coffee, fees, subscriptions. Nothing huge, nothing shameful. But at the end of the room, the table is empty. Caleb says, "Okay, rude." Future Caleb says, Now open the second door. Behind the second door, the same $5 habit appears, but each $5 bill becomes a seed. At first, the seeds look pathetic, little sprouts, almost embarrassing. Caleb says, "This is supposed to make me rich?" Future Caleb shakes his head. "No, this is supposed to teach you patience." That is where many beginners quit. The beginning of investing is slow. For a while, your contributions do most of the work, but over time, if the investments grow, the money can start making money. Then that money can also make money. That is compounding. Compounding is not a rocket, it is a snowball. At the top of the hill, it looks tiny, you push it, it barely moves. But if the hill is long enough and the snowball keeps rolling, it can become much larger than the original handful of snow. Future Caleb picks up one money seed. For example, he says, if someone invested about $150 a month for 40 years and hypothetically averaged 8% a year, it could grow to a little over $500,000. Caleb freezes. The tiny sprout suddenly looks less pathetic. Future Caleb raises one hand, hypothetically. Not guaranteed, not smooth, not every year. And that simple example ignores taxes, fees, inflation, and real life. It only shows how the idea works. Caleb says, "So the trick is invest $5 and wait?" Future Caleb laughs. "No. The trick is understanding what you own, protecting yourself first, and surviving the moments when your emotions try to ruin the plan." Caleb does not like that sentence. "What moments?" Future Caleb does not answer. He looks up. The ceiling turns red, the lights flicker, the money seeds start shaking. A giant red chart drops from the sky. Caleb jumps backward. "What is happening?" Future Caleb says. "The market is going down." Then a tiny creature runs in wearing a business tie and holding a huge red button. The button says, "Sell everything." Caleb points at it. "Who is that?" Future Caleb sighs. "That is Panic Brain." Panic Brain climbs onto Caleb's shoulder and starts yelling, "You made a mistake. This is different. Sell before it gets worse." Caleb looks at his money seeds. Some are bent sideways. The little number above them is lower than yesterday. Suddenly, investing does not feel educational. It feels personal. It feels like losing. This is the first real test, not choosing the perfect app. The first real test is seeing red and not letting fear drive the car. Future Caleb kneels beside the seeds. "Markets go up and down," he says. "That does not mean every investment is good. Some investments are terrible. Some companies fail. Some people buy hype and call it research." Panic Brain nods aggressively. "Yes, therefore panic." Future Caleb ignores him. But if you have a long-term plan, understand what you own, diversify, and avoid investing money you need soon, then a market drop does not automatically mean the plan is broken. Caleb says, "But it feels broken." Future Caleb says, "That is why feelings are expensive." The storm gets louder. Headlines fly through the hallway. Crash, worst day. Is this the end? Caleb reaches toward the sell button. Future Caleb gently stops him. "Before you touch that button, answer one question." Caleb says, "What?" "Did you invest money you need for rent, food, bills, or emergencies?" Caleb looks away. Future Caleb says, "That is why the emergency shield comes first." A scratched shield appears between Caleb and the storm. It says, "Emergency money." Future Caleb says, "Before investing, you need basic safety, money for surprise expenses, a plan for bills, a serious look at high-interest debt." The shield blocks a flying headline. Because if one emergency forces you to sell during a crash, the market did not beat you. Your lack of preparation did. Caleb looks at the shield. "So investing starts before investing?" "Exactly." Future Caleb points at the seeds. "Money you need soon should usually stay out of the market. Long-term investing needs time. Short-term survival needs safety." Panic Brain lowers the sell button a little, not because he agrees, because the shield annoys him. Now, Caleb looks closer at the seeds. What are they actually planted in? Future Caleb smiles. Now you are ready for the next idea. The floor transforms into a huge basket. Inside the basket are tiny businesses, a grocery store, a software office, a factory, hundreds of doodle businesses. Future Caleb says, when you buy a stock, you are buying a tiny ownership piece of a real business. Caleb picks up one tiny building. So a stock is not just a squiggly line on my phone? No. The line is the price people are willing to pay. Under the line is a business. Caleb watches tiny workers move inside the buildings. Some buildings grow. One building trips over a pile of debt and falls flat. Caleb winces. Future Caleb says, one company can do very well, but one company can also fail, fall, or disappoint you for years. Then the basket zooms out. Now Caleb is not holding one building, he is holding the whole basket. Future Caleb says, that is why many beginners learn about broad index funds. An index fund is like buying a basket of investments that follows a market index. Instead of trying to guess the one company that wins, you own a group. Caleb says, so if one company messes up, Future Caleb points to the fallen building. The whole basket is not automatically destroyed. The basket shakes. Some companies fall, some grow, some new ones enter. The basket still goes up and down, Future Caleb says. Diversification reduces single company risk. It does not remove risk. Panic brain squints. I dislike nuance. Then the hallway lights change again. Suddenly, Caleb is standing in front of a casino, but instead of slot machines, the machines have tickers, rockets, screenshots, and countdown timers. A neon sign says, last chance. Another says, everyone is getting rich except you. A loud creature wearing sunglasses skids across the floor on a rocket. Future Caleb says, that is the hype goblin. The hype goblin points at Caleb. You are early, it says. Probably, maybe, do not ask questions. Caleb watches people run toward the rocket. Some fly up, some crash. Caleb says, so individual stocks are bad? Future Caleb shakes his head. No, individual stocks are not bad, but they require more work than beginners think. He pulls out papers. Revenue, debt, cash flow, competition, valuation. Caleb looks at the stack. That seems like homework with consequences. Exactly, the hype goblin whispers, or you could buy because the internet is loud. Future Caleb says, loud does not mean safe. The casino fades. Caleb is back in the hallway with the leak, the seeds, the shield, and the basket. For the first time, investing does not look like one magic decision. It looks like a system. Find the leak, build the shield, learn what you own. Start small with a plan you understand. And do not let panic brain or hype goblin run your future. Future Caleb points at the glowing coffee cup again. Now choose. Caleb looks at the normal coffee, then the glowing one. Do I have to stop buying coffee forever? Future Caleb smiles. No. Caleb relaxes. Coffee was never the villain. The hallway becomes quiet. The money leak appears again. The money seed appears again. The emergency shield appears again. Future Caleb says, the villain is unconscious money, money that leaves unnoticed, money that has no plan, money that always serves present comfort but never future freedom. Caleb looks at the $5 coffee. For the first time, it does not look evil. It looks like a choice. Future Caleb says, sometimes buy the coffee, enjoy your life, but do not let every small dollar disappear by default. Caleb asks, so what should I do today? Future Caleb says, do not rush, do not panic. Do not buy something because a video made you excited. Panic brain looks offended. The hype goblin looks deeply personally attacked. Future Caleb continues. Open your last 30 days of spending. Find one tiny leak. Build your emergency shield. Learn what you own. And if you invest, start with an amount that does not wreck your life. Caleb watches one small coin walk toward the leak. This time, he gently picks it up. He does not throw it into the casino. He does not smash the sell button. He does not plant every dollar he owns. He simply places one tiny coin into the ground. A small money seed appears, still tiny, still unimpressive, still. But now Caleb knows what it is. It is not a miracle. It is not a guarantee. It is a habit, a quiet vote for future him. And for the first time, future him feels real. Future Caleb begins to fade. Caleb says, wait, do I become rich? Future Caleb smiles. That depends on what you do repeatedly. Caleb says, that is annoyingly honest. Future Caleb points to the tiny seed. In the beginning, this will feel slow, painfully slow, but there is a strange milestone where compounding starts to feel different. Caleb asks, what milestone? Future Caleb says, the first 100,000. The red storm disappears. The coffee shop returns. The barista finally says, "Sir, are you taking the coffee or not?" Caleb looks at the cup, then at his phone, then at the tiny money seed only he can see. And he realizes something simple. The goal is not to hate spending. The goal is to stop sleepwalking. Because small money can vanish quietly, or small money can build quietly. And the difference is whether you give it a job. So here is your challenge. Do not invest because of this video. Do not buy anything because a doodle told you to. Just open your last 30 days of spending, find one tiny leak, then ask, if this money had a job, what could it become? That question is the beginning. In the next episode, we are going to talk about why the first $100,000 can feel so slow, and why after that, money can start behaving differently. If money has always felt confusing, stressful, or made for people who already understand the game, this series is for you. Subscribe to GoGlides Finance. The financial world can feel built to overwhelm you. We are going to make it simple, one doodle at a time.